Yeah.
And
I guess it does look good on like applications though.
it does, but then at the same time, if you're looking at it from a university perspective, if you have a student coming in with 24 college credits, that's a semester and a half of tuition that they're not going to get from you.
Right? Yeah.
So how much is Columbia University's tuition?
80.
A lot.
A lot. It's like 65,000 for the tuition itself, but cost of attendance overall is like 80,000.
Right. So that that's one semester, 1 year. So that's possibly $90,000 of revenue that they're not going to get from you. So they're always going to say, well, if you got a 4, well, you needed a 5. Or we'll add this as an elective. It won't count towards your core, it'll count towards your elective, but you still have to take these classes on top of it. And it's hard to tell that to students and to parents when they want to have your brag sheet that you're in all these classes, and it looks good on your applications that you're in 7 AP classes or 8 AP classes and you scored 4 or 5 on these. But at the same token, it doesn't in this day and age, it doesn't necessarily convert into like less tuition or less courses that you have to take in college. And say, fine, we'll accept these, but in addition, so instead of taking those, you have to take these courses instead. You guys experienced that firsthand.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm sure you don't necessarily may or may not agree that some students may benefit from going to. Sorry.
Yeah, I just went on it. I thought I heard like an echo and I was like, wait.
All right, on that note, guys, I'm going to jump out of the room. I will be watching live.
Do you want us to start screen sharing now, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can just have it on the front page.
Yeah.
We do hear the echo on your thing, by the way, Jenny, I think. Yeah, no.
On mine? Oh, that's weird. I don't have it open.
Did you? Oh, you don't have the chat
I closed
open?
the stream. No, I closed the whole stream.
Do you have it open, Mo? Can you like right click on the tab?
I have it open, but it's muted.
The like the video or the page?
Both.
Oh wait, maybe it's.
No, I'm talking about the
We
music.
can hear the background music.
Yeah, and it lights up whenever Jenny talks.
Yeah, but I don't have it open.
That's weird.
It's open.
Pretty sure I have it. You hear it too, Sarah, right? It's not just me.
I hear the background music. Yeah. And I have the tab muted and the page muted. I still hear it when Jenny's muted though. Wait, okay, I'll mute myself now and see if this works.
I still hear it.
If it's just the music, it's no big deal.
I still hear it. Weird.
Oh, it was definitely
I don't
you.
hear it anymore.
Because when we were all muted, it was still playing, but then when you muted yourself last, it went away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mystery solved.
That's weird that Jenny was lighting up though.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we just heard it. Oh, are you wearing headphones?
Yeah, I'm wearing.
Oh. Whoa,
But,
what?
like-
That is super weird.
It might have just been like as I was like moving, the mic was picking up on like sound or
Probably.
something like that.
Yeah, probably. Hi, everybody. So we're a group of students from Columbia University, and today we're going to be talking to you about the college application process and some things that you can be doing now to prepare yourself. So I guess we can start off by introducing ourselves. So a little bit about us. So hi, my name is Sarah, and I am a senior at Columbia University, and I study computer science, and I applied to Columbia through the coursework program, which we will be talking about a little bit later in the presentation.
So hi everybody, I'm Jenny and I'm a sophomore at Columbia studying computer science. I'm from El Paso, Texas, and I did Gates and Questbridge. So we'll be talking about those both later.
And hey everyone, my name is Mohammed. You could call me Mo. I'm from Jersey City. I graduated from McNair. I'm a junior at Columbia University studying also computer science, and I am a Jack Kent Cook Scholar.
So just to start off, we thought a good place to begin would be with a few early programs that you can do before applying to university. And these range in what they contain from summer programs to fly-ins where you can go visit universities. So to start off, fly-ins usually begin taking place in September to December of your senior year. But that means that you need to be applying during the summer before your senior year, so summer after your junior year. And a fly-in takes place, it's usually 2 to 3 days long, and it's just an extended college tour for prospective students, typically from underrepresented backgrounds, and the university covers the cost of things like food, transportation, and housing costs for the students that they fly out. And it just gives you a chance to really explore that campus and kind of convince you to come there. And a lot of schools do fly-ins, notable ones, UPenn, Columbia, Johns Hopkins. But we have attached a list of programs that has about 80 schools that do fly-ins, and we plan to send out this PowerPoint to you all, so you'll be able to have access to that resource as well.
So besides fly-ins, we also have various summer programs that you can go to. So usually these will occur like also during like your summer senior year. That means like generally applications start from about like right now, actually like January in your junior year to maybe about like May, kind of depends on the program. So yeah. And so there are various ones. So there's like some at MIT. These are like more like STEM focused because obviously MIT is more like a science engineering type of school. But RSI is like more like a research based ones. Most tech mites are more like for like focusing on specific like interests that you have that deal with like STEM, I guess. And then you can also like take opportunities for like other like leadership programs that like let you experience kind of like what university is like, and also like it's good for your application essentially. So like it will give you kind of like a boost on your application for being like, oh, I did these type of programs and they're good. And you just really want to also like look into like whether or not these programs are like free or not. So like the ones I listed for MIT, most tech mites are free. They're like targeted towards low income. So you just kind of want to see like, okay, like when I do the summer program, is it going to cost me money or not? Or can I get some type of like financial aid? Is it like, will they cover for like transportation, food, this type of thing? You just want to like look into like these various different options that you can have. But they're definitely a good thing to look into and a good thing to bolster your application. So next we'll be talking about scholarships. So free money, we love that. So first we'll talk about scholarships overall a bit. So there's some like general big name ones. Coca-Cola is like a big, like general big name one. But besides that, you also want to look into your like local scholarships. So like your district ones, at your high school, you can talk to your like counselor and see like if they have a list of like different scholarships you apply to that are available in your city or like in your district, like I said. So like never rule anything out, essentially, like every bit of money counts. And then if you're in a member of like a like kind of like big organization as extracurricular, so like FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America, BPA, Business Professionals of America, FIRST, which is like robotics competitions, you can also see if they offer like scholarships. And these generally will like be like, what did you do in this like organization? How did this help you? And that's just like a good way to kind of get like extra money. Besides that, there's also like low income scholarships that are targeted. They're like usually like a bit bigger and they're targeted specifically. So we have Questbridge, Gates, Elks, and Jack and Cook, 3 of which we'll be talking about in more detail. And then besides that, there's also just ones that are more based off like your identity kind of and your interests. So Ron Brown Scholarship is a big one, and this is for African American students. There's also a Regeneron Finance Talent Search. So this is like if you have a big research interest, like you submit like your research paper type of thing. And then there's also like Palantir Women Technology Scholarship. So this is like gender and also like interest. So there's like a whole like range. They go from like a lot of things, like whether you wear glasses, whether you're like left-handed, these type of things. So just like look into like these like general like ones. And then there's also like industry ones essentially. So you should definitely see if your parents like this company, the company that they work at, whether it offers like specific scholarships for like students of like students of like their employees basically. So definitely look into there too.
And like Jenny mentioned, there are thousands of smaller scholarships related to anyone. They might range from a couple of 100 to a couple of thousands. Any little bit help. So yeah, be sure to look around your community, like churches, mosques, temples, or anything else related to your interests. We have the scholarship site for the U.S. Department of Labor on here. I'm pretty sure you guys will be receiving a copy of our presentation. But if not, if you just Google anywhere on the internet scholarships, you will find literally thousands. And yeah, be sure to apply to as many as you can. Like again, every little bit helps, especially when you have a huge tuition.
Definitely. And so the program that I applied to Columbia through is called QuestBridge. And QuestBridge is a college match program for high achieving low income high school students. And it has several rounds to the process. The first round takes place in late summer. The application is due in late September. So it's definitely something to start thinking about now, because you'll need to ask for recommendation letters and start thinking about standardized testing for that application. And it functions on a system similar to medical school, I guess, I don't know, where you rank your universities that you would like to attend after you make it past the first round. And it goes down the list in terms of acceptance. And if any of the schools accept you, you receive a full 4-year scholarship to the college partner upon acceptance, which is really awesome. And aside from the college match program, there's also several summer program scholarships prior to your senior year that function under QuestBridge. So the college prep scholars is definitely something worth looking into right now. So that would be this coming summer for you all, the summer after your junior year.
Okay, so next I'll talk about the GATE scholarship. So this is a last dollar scholarship for outstanding minority high school seniors from low income households. So it's different because it's a last dollar, which is like, you don't usually hear that too much. So this just essentially means that any costs you don't already have like covered from scholarships or other financial aid and that are outside of your estimated family contribution, essentially, this will be covered for you. So it's kind of like technically you can theoretically get full ride with it. And then it covers the entirety of your undergraduate studies, so like up to 5 years. And it's kind of like a different process also that consists of multiple phases, kind of like Sarah said. And then there's like a general timeline for these. The dates might not be exactly the same, but the months should be about the same. So this is just something like you can like start like in your senior year.
And the one that I applied to is the Jack and Cook Transfer Scholarship. It's a scholarship available for transfer students, whether it's from private, state, or community college. There isn't much that you need to have done to be eligible for the scholarship. You just basically have to have a GPA of 3.5. You have to demonstrate unmet financial need. Sometimes there is a test policy to it. It's important to check on their site if they're asking for an SAT or not, or and even ACT. One thing that you really need to look for the scholarship is the volunteer work within a community. So make sure to boost your resume by volunteering in Jersey City. I know in our city there's loads of opportunities to do volunteer work, so that's a huge boost.
So next we'll be talking about standardized testing, which I'm sure is like a cause of anxiety for a lot of you guys. So first we'll talk kind of about the difference between the ACT and the SAT. So a lot of it is really kind of like personal preferences. Like college, you can take like one, you can take both, you can take, either one. Because colleges accept either. So you should really just like more importantly look into like their testing policy kind of. So like some colleges allow SAT super scoring. So it's like you take the best score. So let's say like, I don't know, you did really good in the math section this one time, and then you did really good in the reading section the other time. You can take the 2 best scores and just like put them together and you end up with like a bigger overall score. And then the ACT also does something kind of similar to this. It's actually pretty new. They allow like per section retakes. It's like their version of super score essentially. So like, let's say you didn't do too good in like the science section, then you can just like retake the science section only. And then it's also kind of important because the ACT rounds up. So like 30.5 is your 31 composite. So, that's like pretty good in terms of like improvement, I guess. And And then you should really though like look into like whether or not like colleges will allow you to do this whole like super scoring thing. So like some colleges will require you to submit like all your tests. So based off that, it's like, okay, like maybe you didn't do too well and you decided to take it again, and maybe you didn't do too well again. Well, all this tests get submitted. So really you should like kind of be smart about like whether or not how many tests you're taking, like whether or not your strategy is to like, I don't know, like grind really hard and get it like good on the first time, or like take it again. Just like it's kind of like up to you, but just make sure you know like for your top choice colleges, like how they're going to be looking at your tests, so you can choose like a more like optimal strategy, I guess. And then on the right, we have this like infographic about the SAT versus the ACT. So like generally like kind of like summarized is like the ACT gives you less time per question. So it's like a faster paced type of test. But like because of that, the questions don't go as in depth in a sense. So like kind of like broader topics, but you know, like you have less time per question. And the SAT, since you have more time per question, sometimes they become a bit more like in-depth type of questions. So it's just really up to you. I'd probably recommend like taking like one practice test from each and seeing like which one suits your like test taking style a bit better.
So my side gig is actually being an ACT tutor. So I have a pretty solid background on how to best prepare for these tests. And I would say the optimal strategy is to just take as many tests as you can in the time that you have. And on the questions you miss, really just go back and look at them and understand why you missed them and why the correct answer is what it is. Like genuinely repetition is, I think, the most valuable way to prepare for these tests. And we have included links to about 80 ACT practice tests here and some SAT practice tests as well. And if you qualify, one important thing to mention is you can ask for fee waivers, either from the testing site, or I believe Mo said that the school has something. Can you clarify that, Mo? Mo? Guess not. Okay. Well, either way, you should definitely look into getting fee waivers from your school or from the testing program. And you can also ask your guidance counselor for resources in terms of studying preparation, as well as Khan Academy is a great resource for content review. But yeah, repetition is great.
All right, so next we'll kind of talk, oh, sorry, Mo, do you want to go?
Yeah, I was answering a question in the chat. Yeah, you get at McNair 2 free waivers, I believe. I don't know if they still do that. Yeah.
Well, definitely worth checking in on that when you go to take that.
Definitely. All right, and next we'll talk about subject tests really briefly. So essentially, they're kind of like mini SATs, I guess, that were like, they're actually more similar to APs in a sense, where it's like you take like one on a specific subject. So first of all, you should check if your college needs it, because you don't want to have to take like a subject test if like you don't actually need it, because that's just like more time and more money spent. But it's also good to take it when you take like a class, take the class. So like, for example, let's say you want to take like the chemistry subject test. It's probably good to take when you take like AP Chem or like General Chem, because like a lot of the content asked on the test contains like AP material. So it's like good, so that way like the material is like fresh and it's like not as much like reviewing, because you know there can be a lot of topics to review. And then you also just want to like know the general test dates and locations so you can plan accordingly. And usually per subject test sitting, you can take up to 3 subject tests. So there is that. Okay, and the next there's the PSAT. So I know you actually be taking the PSAT like really, really soon actually. So usually there's like a practice run in sophomore year, and like engineering year, this is the real deal. So it's kind of like a mini SAT essentially actually. But you want to keep in mind like that this is actually like really important in terms of like adding to scholarships. So you can use this as a practice test for ACT, but you also want to take it like seriously in its own right, because it qualifies you for national merit. So essentially the way national merit works is like for each state, there's like a kind of like cutoff score. You can like look this up online to see like what your state cutoff score is. And like if you score like better than like this cutoff score, then you can like become a national merit scholar. And then like basically up to like the semifinalist stage, this is like all just like if you do good on the PSAT. So it goes like all the way up, right? So it's like, and like you can kind of see this in the graphic right here. So it's like to become a semifinalist, all you have to do is do good on the PSAT. So, and then this opens like a lot of avenues, I guess, for like more like scholarships, because once you're a semifinalist, it looks like really good in terms of like on your college application, and certain colleges will start like reaching out to you and they'll be like, oh, you're a semifinalist. That's great. Maybe if you choose like kind of like Sarah mentioned with like that ranking system, like, oh, if you choose us as like your first choice, then like, oh, we'll give you this type of scholarship, or we'll do this, or we'll do like that. So you just want to like really keep that in mind because it already like first of all gets many colleges like interested in you, and it also like offers you money in case you decide to go to like a certain college. And then once you become like a finalist, so to become from semi-finalist to finalist, you submit an essay. And then once you're a finalist, then you get like 3 types of like scholarships, I guess you can get. So it's kind of like you can get one through the National Spirit like Corporation. You can get one like from school, so school sponsored. And I believe also like if you decide to go to school in Alabama, if you're a finalist, they offer you like a full ride or something. So it's like things to look into. It's really good, free money. And then the last type is like your parent's company. Like if your parent works at a company that like chooses like national merit and gives them like a scholarship, there's also that. So basically like it's really kind of important to take your PSAT seriously because like it has a big like trickle up type of effect where you end up with like a lot of like a strong application and also like a lot of more like opportunities for free money. So just remember to take that pretty seriously.
Next up is AP tests. I know that McNair offers loads of AP classes. I believe your principal said you have like 26 AP courses, and they are there for you for a good reason. So it's important to know how to take advantage of them. Usually they have huge curves, typically 75% to 80% on your AP test is a 5, and those 5s can transfer into college credits. Colleges typically give maybe 3, 4, or 5 college credits. It again depends on the college that you're applying to. It's important to check the individual college AP score policy, and it's good to know that some of these colleges, some colleges will accept less credit than others. For example, Columbia might only accept 2 to 6, while St. Peter's might accept up to 21. Nevertheless, it buffs up your application, and it's important to have them on your application. There's tons of AP subjects, chemistry, biology, physics, economics, and I believe, again, your principal said you have up to 26, so you have tons to choose from. Choose something based on your interest. You don't even have to take the class necessarily to take the test, but it's good because it prepares it for you. On the next slide, we have kind of a range of how easy some are and how harder others are. For example, statistics and psychology are on the easy side, and they can be a good credit for your social sciences requirement when you go to college. And the hardest are physics and chemistry. A fun fact, for the physics exam, you can score a 50, literally do half of the whole exam and get a 5. And yeah, it's important to not go AP crazy because like I said before, more AP tests are not necessarily better for extracurricular activities, especially if a university will end up only accepting a few of them, but it's still good to have on your resume. Yeah.
So
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Next, Sarah will be talking to you guys kind of about like the general college application process.
So I just laid out a pretty general timeline for you all in terms of things you should be thinking about at different points in your high school academic career. So I believe you all are juniors, so the PSAT, like we talked about before, should be on your horizon, and you should be beginning to think about things like studying for the ACT and the SAT, and really taking that test, and additionally applying for those summer programs that we talked about before, as well as ones that are more general for things like leadership or just general STEM programs. Now is a really good time to be involved in those types of things. And so I guess in the next year, before you go back for your senior year, you should be starting to wrap up some of your testing stuff, participating in those summer programs we talked about, if that's something you choose to do, visiting colleges if you're able, applying for science if you can. And if not, just really starting to think about what schools interest you. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But just really starting to think about that list early is very helpful. That's something I wish I would have started earlier on. And lastly, thinking about your Common App. The essay prompts are generally pretty similar from year to year, and those take quite a bit of time to write well. So just thinking about that ahead of time is something good to start doing. And yeah, for senior year, you just want to finalize your list of schools, submit your Common App, I believe by January 1st, and applying for scholarships. You can do that earlier, but I did mine during my senior year and it worked out well.
All right, so applications, surprisingly commonly, the most common application is the Common App. There are 900 schools across the country that accept the Common App. The Common App has several components, including a personal essay, recommendation letters, extracurricular activities list, and so on. The Common App is completely online, and that allows students to edit their application before submitting to multiple colleges. Next up, there's the Universal App. The Universal App is kind of like the Common App, but it has less participating colleges. It's the same kind of process and the same features on it. Many colleges that accept the Universal App also accept the Common App, so it's good to apply. It's mostly good to apply only for the Common App. Individual college applications, some colleges still offer a separate application that applies to their institution. I believe MIT does that. MIT has their own application that, oh, sorry about that, it's my dog. Most colleges who offer their own application will accept the Common Application. These colleges typically do not have a preference, but it's always good to ask just in case. And so how do you choose actually, before I go to that, I skipped the Coalition for Access and Affordability. This is a kind of like an artsy type application process where you have a portfolio that you submit stuff into for the duration of your high school career. There's only 90 institutions that accept the Coalition application, but once again, it's good to know what's the right application process for you. It's good to ask your the admission office that you're to the college that you're applying to, and overall, I believe everyone would be set with the Common Application.
Yeah, I just want to add in really quick that you can also get fee waivers for your applications. So just like look into those too.
Yeah, definitely. And just to kind of tag on a little bit more about the Common App stuff, I saw in the chat someone asked and said that it opens in August, but for the main essay, generally the prompts don't tend to change too much from year to year. They're pretty general and they just want you to talk about your experiences. So if you look at ones from previous years, it should help you in writing your own essay for the year prior. But yeah, it opens in August. And in terms of your main essay, you really want it to be authentic, original, and a little bit anecdotal. And you really wanted to just talk about who you are and your interests. Don't have someone else write it for you. They'll know if you do that, first of all. But also, you're applying to a college and you want that college to be the right fit for you, right? So yeah, just put a lot of time into it and really make it your own. And additionally, there's a few supplemental questions for most universities in the Common App. So in these questions, make sure that you really show interest in specific features of the school and talk about why you really want to go there. Put thought into it. Don't just talk about, I don't know, like the location or how you think the school is really great. Talk about maybe specific subsets of the program or professors, or just make sure that you really do your research when filling out those questions. And additionally, there are a few universities or programs that will review your application for free if you plan ahead early enough. And then, yes, once again, as Jenny said, apply for fee waivers for your applications if you're eligible, because those will be available if you qualify. And then another part, something that kind of caught me by surprise when I was applying to colleges, is that you need recommendation letters. And it's really important to sort of start forming relationships with your teachers ahead of time and really thinking about asking early for these letters, and also being kind about it, and just being generally ahead of schedule and just making sure that you're not inconveniencing them. So if, for instance, if you're doing QuestBridge, your letter will be due in early September, most likely. So just really planning ahead for that is good. And making sure that it's a teacher who really knows you as a student on a more personal level, I would say, is good. And also something that I did is I just provided my teacher with information about where I was applying and what I was applying under, so that they could write an essay geared more towards that for me. And just lastly, I know a lot of teachers appreciate it if you remind them as the deadline approaches a little bit. I mean, don't be pushy, but a friendly reminder can just help make sure that it didn't slip their mind.
Yeah. So next we'll talk to you guys a little bit about extracurriculars. So extracurriculars and volunteering work are important. They're a good way for you, like when you write your essays, things that you can talk about, experiences you have in them to demonstrate your interest and like how you demonstrate leadership. Leadership's also like important, and usually through like extracurriculars, you can kind of like demonstrate like leadership or like collaboration, these type of like soft skills, you know? So there's a lot of different like extracurriculars you can do. So there's a bunch of the bowls, right? Science bowl, quiz bowl, history bowl, so on and so forth. There's also all the Olympiads, so like the science ones, the math ones, like so on and so forth. Debate, mock trial, model UN, NHS, sports. There's all these type of ones. There's also like robotics. And something you can also look into, I guess, if you're into that, is research, and you can contact like professors at like your local universities, that type of thing, if you want to do that. So there's like all these like different like avenues, I guess, to like demonstrate your interest and to like kind of grow and show that in your application. And then also I just want to talk about some like general advice, I guess. So like take like websites like College Confidential, Rate Me, Reddit, like with a grain of salt. Like it's easy to feel like discouraged and like look at other people's stats and be like, oh, my stats aren't as good, so I'm not going to get in. Like, don't let random people on the internet tell you like whether or not you're going to get into like college or not. Like, they're not the admissions officers. Like, you can use them maybe as like, oh, a springboard or like a place to get ideas, but like really just don't like, I guess, like shoot yourself in the foot with them, I guess. And then like take all your classes seriously. So like Sarah said, like you want to like be able to have like records that really show like you like not just like with your like, I guess, like stats, like not something like too general, but like something that actually shows like who you are, like, you know. So that's why you want to like form good relationships with your teachers. You can really like show like your personality and like your ethic or whatever in it. And then pursue what you're passionate about, not like what you think colleges want to see, because it's like nobody actually still like knows if like, oh, like it's better to like, I don't know, focus on one area or do like a general thing. Just like do what you think like you care about, because it's going to really help you when you're writing your essays. Because if you do what you care about, like these essays, you'll have like plenty of ideas for like, oh, I want to write about this when I did this in this extracurricular because like it like fits and like I really cared about it, that type of thing. And like I said before, just make sure you do take some leadership positions, because colleges do care about like leadership. And then you should also just kind of like consider right now, like it's like not set in stone. You don't have to like know in stone, but like liberal arts versus like STEM kind of, because this kind of like changes like, oh, like what type of programs, like summer programs you might apply for, what type of extracurriculars you might focus on. Like it's not set in stone, but it's just like a good like idea to kind of have a general idea of maybe what you want to do. So that way you can kind of like target your application more towards like schools, I guess, that might focus more on STEM versus liberal arts. Next, we'll talk a little bit about like university experiences, I guess. So starting with Mo, talking about public versus private.
All right. So public schools are state funded schools. Our state funded school is Rutgers. Rutgers is probably one of the best in the country when it comes to state funded schools. I know back when I was at McNair, everyone would say every one of us gets into Rutgers, so it must be not a great school, but it actually is a great school. It has great, especially the New Brunswick campus. It has a great university lifestyle. There's thousands of students that you can interact with. Based on your interest, you'll definitely find someone who has a similar interest to you, and the professors there are also great professors. A benefit of going to a public school is the in-state tuition. If you are a U.S. permanent resident or a citizen, you will have low income. You will receive the Pell Grant. You will most likely get your whole college experience for free. But it also depends on your personal thing. Also, public schools usually give lower scholarships compared to private schools. Private schools such as Columbia or even St. Peter's or any other type of private school tends to give scholarships within the tens of thousands, while public schools will only give you about 2,000 to 3,000. again, it's all depending on the person you are. When it comes to academics, everything, it's pretty much the same. It's just based on your personal interests. Next slide. The community college / transfer route, this is the route that I took. I originally went to Rutgers. I studied finance for 2 years. I didn't like it. So instead of continuing to pay my tuition, I dropped out and I went to Hudson County Community College for about 1.5 years. There I improved my GPA, and then I applied into Columbia University. But there are pros and cons to taking this route. Like I said, with the pros, there's affordability, there's academic flexibility, there's a lot of financial aid options when it comes to community colleges, smaller class size. The professors there also are, they're learning to be professors, so that might not be the best of interest for certain people. Cons are there's a lighter workload, uninvolved students, and a lack of campus life. But just because you took the community college route does not mean that you will not you cannot apply to a big school like Columbia or Princeton or MIT or something like that. Everything is based on your own personal preference. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you guys. So do you guys have any questions that you want to ask us? Drop them in the chat.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we fell a little behind while Mo was talking since he was monitoring the chat.
Yeah, so let's take a look. Awesome.
Okay, where did we leave off?
How many times you should take the SAT? That's based on you. I would recommend 2 times at least. One you should go in completely blind, just even if you didn't study for it or anything like that, just to see how it works. The second time, it's better to study for it and see how well you do.
Okay, so I see this question about scholarship money. So it really depends on the scholarship. Some scholarships, they give you the money, like you get the money, but like pretty generally, yes, they do send it to the college and then you get like a refund check. And then like based off that refund check, like you can put that into like books or like dorms, living, that type of thing. So yeah, it just kind of depends on like the scholarship. So you should, when you apply a scholarship, make sure you understand like how they're doing, I guess, giving the money. But most big names just give it to like the college, like for like big full ride kinds.
Yeah. In terms of an SAT score range, I would say it really depends on your application. I think a lot of universities look at you holistically, and it's hard to give like a strict number for that. In terms of online options for extracurricular / volunteer work, oh, that's a good question. I know there's a few programs at Columbia that it's kind of like online babysitting or tutoring, where you can work with younger students whose parents might have to be working during COVID, just to help them with their homework or keep them safe and entertained. So that might be something to look into.
Yeah, I was about to read that one. So Arush, it says, I have not thought about college for a long time. What should be my focus right now? Your focus right now is to probably focus on your grades. If you're a junior, it's also important to know that you should definitely be taking the SATs. You should definitely be taking AP courses. You should be definitely looking at what might interest you. I wouldn't say go to college for your major or anything like that. I would say go to college based on apply to colleges based on your what you would like. Would you like a smaller classroom? Would you like a bigger classroom? Would you like to go to a college where you'd be able to meet more people or less people? It's all, again, based on personal preference, because even when you go to a university, your major might change. You might change as a person. Again, it's all up to you.
Yeah, definitely. And if you don't know what you want to major in, I just want to pipe in and say that that's completely okay. I didn't figure out what I wanted to do until my first year at Columbia. So if you're in that situation, my advice would be exactly what Mo said. to just focus on what you're doing right now and doing it well, and finding a place where you think you can pursue any interests that you may have. So maybe if you think you want to do STEM, don't go to a strictly liberal arts college, but I think that you don't have to know what you're doing right now. So I think we have time for one more question. Do you want to take it, Jenny? You want to pick one?
Here, let's see. So somebody asked, what if we're not great standardized test takers? Would we still have a chance getting in IBs? So that, because it's a holistic approach, kind of like Sarah said, like you still do have a chance. Obviously, you want to try and do good on standardized tests because they they are like one facet of the application, but like don't get too caught up in that. Like I know there are a couple people who like didn't meet like cutoff scores. For these cutoff scores also, you can probably like look online. There's like generally like the median score, average median score type of thing for like certain schools or whatever. And you can try and like aim towards that, but if you can't get that, like you should kind of focus on, I guess, on like strengthening like the other aspects of your application. So making sure your essays are really good so that when like the admissions officers see it, they're like, oh, like we see that this student's a good match. And like your essays are also a chance to show like you and also to kind of show like whether or not you're a match for the school. Like they kind of care about that too. So focus on your essays, focus on like your extracurriculars, things like that. So you like, it's like good to do good on them, but you don't have to like think about them like as your only like way of getting into an IB essentially. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I think that actually wraps up all the time we have for this. I don't know how to end the live stream, but thank you guys all so much for tuning in. And if you have questions, I think your teachers know how to reach us. And we'll also make sure that you get a copy of this PowerPoint so that you can access all of the links in it as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.